Welcome back to Corporate Holiday, folks. What comes to your mind when you hear the name Popcap? For a lot of you, it's probably Plants vs. Zombies. The series was a smash hit for them and spawned a whole bunch of knockoffs, sequels, spin-offs, and a very intense fan base. For me though, I think back to the age of early casual PC gaming. As a kid who spent way too much time on his computer, but knew squat about what was big in gaming at the time, I think Half-Life 2 was out? Never heard of it. My favorite game from this era was Insane Aquarium, a game that I definitely plan to cover in detail once I get a bit better at this video making thing. Chuzzle wasn't too far behind though. Published by Popcap in 2005 and developed by Raptisoft Games, Chuzzle is a pretty simple game at its heart. It's a match puzzler. Popcap had already released the first two Bechuzzled games at this point, a series that I'll have to talk about as well, and Chuzzle is a game that plays a bit similar. Now in Bechuzzled, you would swap the position of one or two jewels to make a match. Chuzzle, however, has you dragging entire rows of, well, Chuzzles in order to make them burst. Now as a kid, I first played Chuzzle as one of many free demos I downloaded before crashing my computer under the weight of my many sins. These days, you can buy it for $5 on Steam, and I actually found a disc version at a thrift shop for $3. Originally though, when doing some research, looks like it retailed for around $20, from what I could gather from the Wayback Machine. I think we take for granted these days just how cheap PC gaming is now. Now this complete version of Chuzzle comes with 4 main modes. The first is Classic Chuzzle, which is what you would expect. Pop some Chuzzles until you can't Chuzzle no more, while dealing with gimmicks like Fat Chuzzles, which take up 4 slots, or locks, which prevent you from moving rows in certain ways. Speed Chuzzle is a bit similar but hits you with a timer, and adds a lock to the board each time the timer hits 0. This forces you to move a lot faster, and if you run out of moves, your board gets scrambled, which is also in Classic Chuzzle. You have a limit to how many times the board can get scrambled though, or it's game over. Next up is Zen Chuzzle, which is the most casual mode, for those who can't handle Chuzzle maxing like the rest of us. It's okay though, there's no timer and no locks. Take it easy. And the last one is the only one that's actually a little bit different, called Mindbender. This is a puzzle mode where the game gives you a batch of 5 different layouts where you need to match your screen to the layout presented. Complete 3 puzzles in a batch and you move on to the next stage. And I know I said there were 4 modes, but there's actually a 5th. However, I am terrible at Chuzzle. I was as a kid, and I will continue to be terrible at Chuzzle for the rest of my life. So instead, I'll be showing you some footage from a YouTuber who can really Chuzzle, and I'll link their channel below. Now this final mode is Bechuzzled. You can unlock it by collecting 5 specific trophies. And yeah, I forgot to mention it, but Chuzzle has an achievement and trophy room. In this trophy room, you get rewards for doing certain things in the game, like popping a certain amount of Chuzzles, and getting 5 trophies in particular, namely Brainiac, which is beating a game without a hint, Puzzler, which is getting to level 10 in the Mindbender mode, 7 at once when you pop 7 Chuzzles in a group, 10 grand by popping 10,000 Chuzzles in total, and lastly Triple Combo, which is unlocked by popping 3 different Chuzzle groups in one move. Once you have these 5 trophies, clicking them in a certain order will unlock the mode, where you basically play Chuzzle but with the jewels from Bechuzzled. Remember when games used to have Easter eggs like this? And shout out to Peng Easy who wrote this guide on the official Steam Chuzzle community page, second only to the other best guide, How to Commit War Crimes. Chuzzle really is how I remember it though, which is to say, it's a pretty damn endearing little puzzle game. The Chuzzles add a lot of life to what is basically another puzzle matching game. Clicking the Chuzzles make them sneeze, they burst into little puffs of hair, and the soundtrack is absolutely full of bangers. I mean, listen to this. It also for me exudes that early 2000s, mid 2000s casual PC gaming aura. The type of game that could run on literally anything and was made for anyone, including my jank-ass computer from back in the day. Now if you're wondering, damn, I wish they made more Chuzzle. Good news! The game's actual developers is a company called Raptisoft, not Popcap, and they actually released a sequel, Chuzzle 2, for mobile devices only in 2018. After what seemed to be a pretty well-reviewed mobile port of the original Chuzzle, done by a team at Popcap in 2007. Along with Chuzzle 2, there is also another game, Chuzzle Snap, that released in 2020. And I guess that's a good segue as to what happened to this style of game. They moved to smartphones. Candy Crush is one of the biggest games in the world and has been for years, and I can't blame Raptorsoft for moving to where their customer base is now. I can't help but feel though that the microtransactions that are so popular in mobile games these days really bring down the vibe of these casual PC games I remember playing. Even Popcap's Golden Goose Plants vs. Zombies got microtransactions when the second one came to mobile. So for me, you'll be catching me sticking to Chuzzle on PC, and maybe you'll catch me on the official Chuzzle.com, which even still has a forum under the argue button. I miss the old internet sometimes, and until the next time, stay wavy.